To import data from microdrainage into Stormcloud UK, first thing that we need to do is create a new project. So use the File New menu option to do that. And then we should go and check the units. So from Tools, Options, we can go to the Units tab, and there's two places to set the units. We can set them here to set the default units for this project, and here to set the default units for new projects. So check and change both places if you need to, then click OK. Then we can go to the File, Import, Microdrainage menu and select the file that we want to import and click Open. And that process just takes a few moments while Stormcloud UK creates everything that it needs to and then imports the contents of the SWS file. So that's processing now, and there's the resulting network. To export Stormcloud UK data to Subsurface Utilities, we need to create some shapefiles, and to do that we use Flex Tables. So from the View menu we go to Flex Tables, and we need to create some Flex Tables, and we'll probably want to use them with different Stormcloud projects in the future. So to create Flex Tables that are shared amongst projects, we need to create them in the Shared folder. So we go right click on Tables Shared, we go New, Flex Table. Now we need to choose the information that we want to put in this Flex Table. First thing we need to do is set the table type, which is, we'll do conduits to start with. We can see how the label field is already selected, so we need to add a few more fields to it. Scrolling down through the list, I want to add diameter, and then want to add start invert levels, or the upstream invert level, and the stop or the downstream invert level. I want to add the upstream and downstream nodes, and the section type, which is the shape of the conduit. Now that I've selected those fields, I can just click OK. So here's the conduit table, conduit flex table. We can see all the columns that we've selected that we want. So that's all okay. So what we now need to do is export this data to a file. So click the export button, and then I need to set the type to be Esri shapefile. I'm just going to create a new folder. Because we need to put all of the shapefiles in the same folder. So we'll call this one conduits and click save. Now we've got some default field names coming up here. I'll just click OK, and we'll accept those default names, and that's the shapefiles created. So now we can close this flex table. What I'll do is I'll rename it so that it's easier to remember what it's for in the future. So that's one shapefile. We need to create two more. We want one for the manholes and one for the outfalls. So we'll create the next one. Set the table type. And we need to pick the other fields that we want to add in. We want the ground level. We want the invert level. And we want the X and the Y. OK. That's the flex table created with the information that we've specified, and again we need to create the shapefile. So we'll call this one manholes. Okay, there's the field mapping, so we can click OK and create that file. Rename this one. Then the final table that we need to create is one for the outfalls. So we'll create a new table, select the table type, and the fields we want again are the same as for the manholes actually, so we want elevation ground, elevation invert, X and Y, and click OK. There's only one outfall, there's only one network in this data, so we create the shapefiles again. There's the field mappings. These field mappings are limited to the 10 characters in the Esri shapefile field name, so sometimes you'll need to rename these, but you'll be prompted if the field name's longer than 10 characters, so you'll know that you need to shorten the names. So in this case we're OK, so we'll just click OK. That's that third shapefile created, and we'll just rename that flex table so we know what it is in the future. We just open a Windows Explorer so that we can see the files that we've created. As you can see, there's the 3 shape files, and there's also these other files that are created as part of that process. So it's important that we put all of those shape files in the same folder, because then the software can easily find the other files that are needed. Okay, so make sure you save all the shape files to the same folder. To import data from Stormcad UK into Subsurface Utilities, we need to use the Model Builder tool. I'm going to start by creating a new design file. Okay, just give it a name. This is using the Bentley Civil Metric 2DC file. So now we've got the design file created, we can go to Tools and Model Builder. Confirm the message. That's a new project created, and now we're ready to set up the link. So I'll create a new one so that we can take the process through step by step. So the first thing is our data source. In this case we're using Esri shapefiles, so we select that. Second thing is the location for our data source. So that's the folder that we created our shapefiles in. Now I need to select all 3 shapefiles, so I need to hold down the Control key on the keyboard and select those 3 shapefiles. Once we've got those, we can tick on the Show Preview box, and then we can see the content of each of these 3 shapefiles. And we can click Next. The coordinate units of our data are meters. So we click Next. We can leave these default settings as they are. Click Next. We can leave these settings as they are, but note the key field used is the label. That's important. And now this step of the wizard is where we map the things in the shapefile to Subsurface Utilities. So we'll start with the conduits. Now, table type. What is this thing going to be in Subsurface Utilities? It's going to be a stormwater segment. So we'll pick that. Key field is the label. Then the start of the conduit is the start node, and then the stop is the stop node. And so I'll just set that key field again to be labelled in uppercase. Right, so that's those properties mapped. There's a few more that we can map. So the first field, called D here, is the diameter. Invert start, we can map that. Invert stop, we can map that. And the conduit shape we can map to shape label. Well, we don't need to worry about mapping the start node and the stop node because that's done in the top here. So we can go to the preview and turn that on, and we can just check here that we've got the mappings correct. So we can see here the D field is the pipe diameters, invert start, invert stop, label, conduit shape. That's all okay. Then the second shapefile we need to map is the manholes. So again, most important, what type of data is this? This is going to be a stormwater node. So key field again, label, X and the Y field will come in automatically because the shapefile contains coordinates, so they're picked up. So elevation ground, is elevation top, elevation invert is elevation invert. We don't need to worry about label X and Y because they're mapped up the top. Then finally the outfalls shapefile, again it's a stormwater node, key field label X and Y is auto because they'll come from the file automatically. So elevation ground is elevation top, elevation invert, label X and Y are mapped up the top. So that's the mappings for those three shapefiles set up. This final stage of the wizard is where we select the feature definitions that we want to use on the imported subsurface utilities elements. So for the conduits we could pick maybe, again it's important that we get the right type here. We're creating storm sewers, so we want to pick a feature definition for storm sewers, not for example waterline or fibre optic. It needs to be storm sewers, so maybe that one. We can also set a feature definition for any missing, if we're missing nodes in the data and the Model Builder Wizard automatically adds them, we should be fine in this case, so I'll leave that field empty. Then for the manholes, the feature definition, I'm just going to scroll down through the list here, maybe a type 2B chamber. And then finally for the outfall, we could pick a head wall element perhaps here if that's appropriate, but I'll use the type 2B chamber again. So we click next. Would I like to build a model now? Yes, I would. I don't need to worry about creating selection sets. So we'll click finish, confirm. Okay, the panel here tells us what's been brought in, the number of conduits and nodes and outfalls, so that's all good. There's no messages, which is another good check that the data's coming in okay. So there's the new mapping table created that we can use over and over again now. Now that's set up, we can just reuse it. But if I now close this panel and confirm the message, That's now bringing the data into the design file, and now we can see all of the information. If we go to references, we've created a 3D model and referenced it into the 2D model. I'll turn it off, that reference, so in the 2D design we're looking at the 2D details. We can open up a second view and view the 3D model. Just snap that cursor to something. Okay, so we can see all the pipes and chambers in 3D there. We can just change the render style there. So there's the network in 3D.